The night was warm in Salt Lake City on May 25, 2003. In a modest home belonging to her great-grandmother, 1-year-old Acacia Bishop had fallen asleep in the safety of family. Her cherubic face was peaceful, her tiny chest rising and falling in rhythmic breaths, the innocence of babyhood wrapped in the comfort of a home filled with love. But in just a few hours, that peace would be shattered forever. Her grandmother, Kelly Lodmell, suffering from untreated paranoid schizophrenia, would steal Acacia from her bed and vanish into the night. By the following day, the nightmare intensified in Idaho Falls, where Kelly led the child to the banks of the Snake River. In a shocking moment that would haunt everyone who searched for the little girl, Kelly jumped into the swirling waters, later claiming she had lost Acacia there. Search teams scoured the waters. Helicopters thundered overhead. Divers braved a rushing current, and families prayed desperately for a miracle. But no miracle came. Baby Acacia's body was never found. This is a heartbreaking story of a little girl whose life was stolen before it even began. A story of family love, mental illness, and questions that remain unanswered. Before we begin, I want to thank my amazing viewers and subscribers for your support through your likes, shares, and comments. Your engagement helps make these stories more meaningful. If you're new here, be sure to hit that subscribe button and join our growing community of true crime enthusiasts. Acacia Brooke Bishop was born on June 14, 2001, in Salt Lake City, Utah, to a young mother who, like many single parents, faced her share of struggles but showered her daughter with love. Acacia's name itself carried meaning. Her mother chose Acacia for the hardy, resilient tree, a symbol of endurance and beauty even in the harshest conditions. It was her way of wishing her daughter a life of strength. Those who knew Acacia during her brief life remember her as a happy baby, full of energy, with bright eyes that seemed to take in everything. She loved music, clapping along whenever songs played on the radio. Her laughter could fill a room. Family members often recalled how she would cling to her mother's leg when strangers came near, but would quickly break into a smile once she sensed safety. Her favorite toys were soft stuffed animals, particularly a floppy-eared rabbit she carried everywhere. Her great-grandmother's home, where she spent much of her time, was a place of warmth and tradition. Old photos adorned the walls. The smell of homemade meals drifted from the kitchen, and Acacia had quickly become the heart of that household. But beneath this picture of family devotion, cracks had begun to form, cracks created by the fragile mental health of one family member. That family member was Kelly Lodmell, Acacia's grandmother. Kelly's life had not been easy. In her younger years, she was described as intelligent and warm, but over time, untreated mental health issues began to dominate her life. By the early 2000s, Kelly had been diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia, a condition that, without consistent treatment, can lead to delusions, hallucinations, and dangerous decision-making. Neighbors and relatives had noticed troubling behaviors. Kelly often spoke of conspiracies, believing government agents were monitoring her and that people around her were plotting harm. At times, she would vanish for days, reappearing with strange stories about being followed or threatened. Though her family loved her deeply, they struggled with how to help. Access to consistent mental health care was limited, and Kelly's mistrust of doctors and medication made treatment even harder. She resisted therapy, believing medical professionals were part of a conspiracy against her. Some in the family had quietly worried about whether Kelly should be left alone with Acacia, but love and trust outweighed those fears. After all, Kelly adored her granddaughter, and in moments of clarity, she doted on the child with gifts, songs, and gentle care. Still, warning signs flickered. Kelly spoke of needing to protect Acacia from evil forces. She expressed fears that strangers wanted to take the baby away. These comments were unsettling, but the family never imagined just how dark those fears would become. By late May 2003, Kelly's mental state had begun to spiral further. Relatives noticed she was more agitated, pacing and muttering about unseen threats. She claimed that she was the only one who could keep Acacia safe, a statement that struck some as odd but not overtly dangerous. On May 25th, 2003, Memorial Day weekend, Acacia was staying overnight at her great-grandmother's house in Salt Lake City. It was a familiar and safe setting, filled with love, the kind of place where a child could sleep without worry. But sometime in the night, Kelly acted on her delusions. Believing danger was imminent, she slipped into the room where Acacia slept. She lifted the baby from her bed, wrapped her in a blanket, and left the house without a word. When morning came and Acacia was nowhere to be found, panic set in. The family quickly realized Kelly had taken her, but no one knew where they had gone or why. What unfolded over the next 24 hours was a desperate, multi-state search that would leave authorities and loved ones shattered. The morning of May 26, 2003, was clear but heavy with dread. As the family alerted police, officers immediately began searching for Kelly's vehicle. An Amber Alert was considered but not activated quickly, largely because the case initially appeared to be a family custody issue rather than an abduction by a stranger. By that afternoon, Kelly had driven nearly 200 miles north to Idaho Falls, Idaho. Witnesses later reported seeing her walking near the Snake River with Acacia in her arms. Some described her as appearing disoriented, talking to herself, and gripping the child tightly. At some point, Kelly waded into the river. The current was swift, the waters deep. In her later account, she claimed she had jumped in to escape imagined pursuers. She said Acacia slipped from her arms into the churning water. By the time police located Kelly near the riverbank, Acacia was gone. The Snake River, wide and powerful, became the heartbreaking focus of the search. Rescue teams mobilized quickly. Boats fanned out across the current. Divers plunged beneath the surface, and helicopters circled overhead. The search stretched late into the night and continued for days. Volunteers lined the banks, scanning the water for any sign of a small body. Parents clutched their own children tighter, horrified by the unfolding tragedy. But despite exhaustive efforts, Acacia's body was never recovered. The river, cold and relentless, kept its secrets. At the scene, investigators gathered what little evidence they could. Witnesses confirmed seeing Kelly with the baby near the river. Personal belongings of Kelly's were found scattered on the bank. But without a body, the case would rely heavily on testimony and circumstantial details. Police quickly detained Kelly Lodmell. Her statements were fragmented and erratic. At times, she claimed she had given Acacia to strangers for protection. At other times, she insisted the child had been swept away in the current. Mental health professionals were brought in to evaluate her. The diagnosis of paranoid schizophrenia was confirmed, and it became clear that her illness had played a central role in the tragedy. The community of Idaho Falls, along with Salt Lake City, was devastated. Vigils were held, candles lit in memory of Acacia, even as many clung to a faint hope that she might somehow be alive. But as weeks passed with no sign of the child, investigators reached a grim conclusion. Acacia was gone. Kelly was charged with kidnapping and felony child endangerment. Prosecutors faced a difficult task: how to hold her accountable while acknowledging her severe mental illness. Prosecutors argued that Kelly's actions, though influenced by her illness, had directly caused Acacia's death. They emphasized the trust that had been broken, the recklessness of taking a baby into dangerous circumstances, and irreparable harm done to a family and community. Defense attorneys countered that Kelly was profoundly mentally ill, incapable of fully understanding her actions. They painted a picture of a woman tormented by delusions, a woman who loved her granddaughter, but whose mind betrayed her. Family members took the stand, their grief palpable. Acacia's mother spoke through tears about the daughter she would never see grow up, her voice cracking as she described the sound of her baby's laugh, the way she smelled of baby powder after bath time. One juror later remarked that the testimonies were some of the most emotionally difficult they had ever heard. In the end, the court found Kelly Lodmell guilty of kidnapping and child endangerment. However, due to her mental health condition, she was sentenced not to a traditional prison term, but to a secure mental health facility, where she would remain under treatment. The ruling left many with mixed feelings. Some felt justice had been served, recognizing that Kelly needed treatment more than punishment. Others struggled with the absence of closure. Without Acacia's body, without definitive answers, it felt like justice was incomplete. In the years since, Acacia's story has lingered in the hearts of those who knew her. Her case is often cited in conversations about the intersection of mental illness and crime, highlighting the importance of treatment, support, and early intervention. Her mother carried on, forever marked by loss, but determined to keep her daughter's memory alive. Community members planted trees, held vigils, and shared stories, ensuring that Acacia would not be forgotten. The Snake River still flows, a haunting reminder that Memorial Day weekend. And though her body was never recovered, Acacia's life, however brief, has inspired conversations about protecting vulnerable children, supporting families facing mental health struggles, and remembering that behind every case is a human story. And that brings us to the end of this case, a story so disturbing it leaves you questioning how many others are suffering in silence. What are your thoughts on this case? Let me know in the comments. If this story shook you, there's more on the channel that dives into cases just as haunting. Don't forget to subscribe, hit that like button, and share this video. It helps keep these stories from being forgotten. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.